Chelmsford Prison, great prison. You come out the kitchen and you walk down and you've got gates and you've got the centre, yeah? But before you get to there, you come out the kitchen and there's a wing there, a wing was just used for filming. It must have been for that film Porridge. Yeah, it must have been for that. It was a massive wing, yeah? And it was never used. It was like, why? Because it was a film, for films, I suppose. Anyway, when he got to the centre and you went on to our wing, C wing, like it was so good, you know what I mean? The wing was so, it was always something being cooked, smell of food. There was always Mickey Green, Tony Edlin running around cooking. There was always the old man Jimmy Tibbs. He was always running around with big lumps of beef and lamb and whatever. There was Ronnie Bender being in the kitchen, nicking bits. There was Ronnie Malloy, the same. I think Ronnie Malloy was, I like Ron. I like Ronnie Malloy. He was involved with the silver bullion. He was a bit mean. He was in the kitchen with us. It was very mean. He never give you nothing, Ron. You know, but him, Jimmy Tibbs, Ronnie Bender, they could do whatever they liked. They had the power. I don't know what it was. They just had that over Mr. Mitchell was the SO. I can never forget their names, you know. Mr. Mitchell was the SO. In the kitchen, there was Jimmy Tibbs. He was a butcher. There was me. I was in the bedroom at this time. There was, who was, Peter Lyons was on the coppers. Alan Dixon was a baker. Georgie Jones was a baker, Gorge's George. Ronnie Malloy was in the pantry. That was the kitchen. Mate, I can always remember the whole lot of them, yeah? And one day I can remember that there was nearly a punch up there. There was a screw in there, it was a Welsh screw, yeah? He was a bully because he was a block bully screw, yeah? He worked in the kitchen, but they used him for heavies. He was a heavy, big Welsh geezer, rugby player, you know what I mean? He looked a right hard nut, and I can imagine he was, you know what I mean? And we was doing the rolls, you know, when I was helping out, they was cutting the dough, doing the rolls. And this Welsh screw thought it was funny to spit on the table and start rolling the rolls. Alan Dixon, right? Fair play to Alan Dixon. He never stood too much shit from that geezer, man. He leaned over and fucking threw a punch at him. If it hit him on the chin, it knocked his head off. But it missed him, yeah? And he sort of like fell back, the Welsh screw. And Mitchell, fair play to Mitchell. He never sacked Ronnie Bent. He never sacked Alan Dixon or nothing. He got hold of the Welsh screw, called him in the office. You know, you could see he was telling him off. And then he called Alan Dixon. And then Alan Dixon went in there. And Alan Dixon, fair play to him, mate. He didn't grass him up or nothing. He went, I was just playing, something like that, you know what I mean? And he kept him. But the Welsh screw, he got reprimanded or whatever. He wasn't allowed in the kitchen with us. He was a bully, mate. He was a proper, you know, one of them ones that done the block bully. He was a proper Welsh old man, mate. He didn't come in the kitchen much. Sometimes he'd come in weekends. But I used to love Ronnie Bender come in. Ronnie Bender come in that kitchen. He'd always come in the kitchen. He was on the works. I think it was on electrics, doing all odd jobs around the prison. He'd come in with a civvy screw. That's where he got his bits and pieces from, yeah. And anyway, not a civvy screw, a civvy. And he'd just come in, and he'd be filling up cans and things like with meat. He'd walk out with legs of lamb and everything. And Mitchell, as long as they looked after Mr. Mitchell with his meat, so he could take home, because it was all about having enough meat for certain days of the week, for certain stews and all that, you know. So the old man Tibbs, he was the butcher, yeah. He knew what days was what. So he cut up meat and cut things, bacon up and cut pork chops up and all that for certain days. He knew what he had to do. So he'd skim it. He'd skim things, yeah? You know what I mean? So he'd get enough meat for Mitchell, for the SO, would take home, and he would have enough meat to give to Ronnie Bender to take up the wing, right? When Jimmy Tibbs left the kitchen to go up the wing, the screws just brushed his side. Never touched the middle of his body where he'd have maybe 10, 15 steaks tucked down there, you know what I mean? Never touch him. Me, Georgie Jones, Alan Dixon, we'd always get touched. We could never get anything out of it. Ronnie Malloy, because he's in charge of the pantries, they needed him, yeah? They needed him. So they give him everything he wanted. Whatever he wanted, he could take up to the wing, yeah? You know, coffee, tea, sugar, anything, you know. It was all in the pantry. And I liked one, but when he was mean, you know, he was a mean man. But he was involved with a big silver bullion armed robbery. Not armed robbery, you know, but I think it was armed robbery, yeah. And they had untold silver bullion, all buried. And I was to say to Ron, how about if they find out what you buried? you get out and there's a big block of flats on top of where you buried your silver. He's funny. He was one diamond for geezer. And he was fantastic badminton player. The old man Tibbsy and Ronnie Malloy, fantastic badminton. Young Jimmy Tibbs, fantastic badminton player. Alan Dixon, really good. They used to play badminton all the time. That was their little game. Me, I was just on the stage. I was on the stage with the big weights. And I was in the powerlifting team as well. A geezer come to see me the other day. Not come to see me. He was one of Terry Haley's mates. This geezer's massive, mate. This geezer Tom, he's massive. Right? Honestly, he's really big. And he come when I was talking to him, and I was talking about Chelmsford Prison. He said, my brother knows a guy from Chelmsford Prison that, you know, often talks about it. He's called Mickey Francis. Mickey Francis. I went, shut up. He was my best pal. He was my best pal in Chelmsford Prison. He was in B-Wing, yeah? And we used to go down the gym together. He was so powerful. This geezer had the body like proper, like Arnie, you know what I mean? Body was unbelievable. And unbelievable powerful. Really good-looking guy. You know, really, really powerful, man. And I looked up to him, yeah? I looked up to him because he could do phenomenal weights and his body was just took shape in no time at all. He had a bit of a dark complexion about him. I don't know what he might mix race, but he was the business. Mickey Francis. Yeah, Mickey Francis, if you're watching this, mate, send me a comment, yeah? And I'll send you my number. Mate, he was blinding, man. I loved him, you know? And for someone to come and start talking about it, I was really took back. Chelmsford Prison, man. I've got a few more stories about Chelmsford, about Togie. This is one about Togie, mate. He ripped a guy to pieces in the toilet. Really done him bad. Anyway, bang, 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 nice one.